My ex-girlfriend stole 8 identities, and I think one of them is buried under the house. Hi Reddit. I'm posting this on a throwaway account because I honestly don't want anyone in my real life finding out what I've been tangled up in. This isn't some /nosleep fiction or creepypasta. I wish it were. This is a real story that has unraveled over the past year and a half of my life, and I'm only just beginning to make sense of it. I 34 met my now ex-identity, Jules, name changed, at a pride event in my city last summer. She was magnetic. Not just pretty, though she was stunning, but charismatic in a way that made you feel like the sun had just turned to shine on you for the first time. She was articulate, had this dry clever sense of humor, and seemed incredibly accomplished. Said she was a consultant in legal document processing, and worked remotely, so she traveled a lot. At first glance, it all added up. Laptop lifestyle, frequent flyer miles, that kind of thing. We started dating quickly. I was swept off my feet. She had an apartment in the trendy part of town, think restored Victorian duplex, furnished with vintage decor and these weirdly pristine antiques. It all looked expensive. Too expensive for what I assumed was a mid-tier remote job. But hey, who was I to question someone's financial success? Looking back, there were red flags. I chalked them up to quirks or just personality. But those quirks would eventually blow open into something nightmarish. It started small. Jules always had different driver's licenses lying around. When I asked about them, she'd laugh it off and say, "Oh, old ones. I move a lot." Keeps the paperwork flowing. I didn't push. We all have weird habits. Then, one night, I found a wallet wedged between the couch cushions while looking for the remote. It wasn't hers. Different name, old woman's photo. I opened it and saw a Medicare card, library card, expired license, all belonging to someone named Mary Ellen Kurtz. Born in 1933. I confronted Jules. She froze. That was the first time I saw her crack. She said it belonged to a former tenant. That she was storing the woman's things until her daughter could come get them. The story didn't sit right with me. But Jules was calm, convincing, and I loved her. I wanted to believe her. Until I found the others. There were 8 in total. 8 identities. 8 sets of documents, social security cards, birth certificates, credit cards, even dental records. I found them hidden in an old trunk in the attic while I was looking for Halloween decorations. It was like she wasn't even trying that hard to hide them, just banking on the assumption that no one would go looking. I took pictures of everything. I didn't know what to do. Part of me thought maybe she was helping them, maybe this was some weird underground caregiving situation. But I kept coming back to the woman in the wallet, Mary Ellen Kurtz. A 90-year-old woman. When I Googled her name, I found something chilling. There was a missing person report. Filed last year. Right around the time Jules moved into that house. I didn't sleep for days. I confronted her again. This time, she got angry. Defensive. Said I was snooping, violating her privacy, that I didn't understand how complicated the situation was. I threatened to go to the police. She laughed. "You think they'll believe you over me? I've got papers too. I could be you in 3 days if I wanted." She said it with a smile. Like it was a joke. But I didn't laugh. I packed a bag and left that night. For weeks, I obsessed. I dug into every name I'd found in that trunk. Out of the 8, 5 were definitely still alive, though they were elderly and all lived in different states. I managed to contact 2 through burner social media accounts. Both had no idea their identities had been compromised. But 3 were dead. Including Mary Ellen Kurtz, if, that is, she was actually dead. Because here's the part that's haunted me ever since. That house? Jules owned it. I found the deed, traced it, bought through a shell company 2 years ago. She'd told me she was renting. One of the back rooms, a guest bedroom, had heavy locks on the inside, like it could be locked from within. I'd always assumed it was a panic room or something. But when I went back, pretending I'd left something important, she refused to let me in that room. Said it was for storage. And under the house? There was a crawl space. Not a full basement, but accessible through a padlocked hatch in the laundry room. I'd never seen it open. So I went back one more time. I waited until she was out of town. She always posted about her flights, careless. I still had a key. I broke in. The house was quiet. Impossibly quiet. I went straight to the laundry room. The padlock on the crawlspace looked newer than everything else in the house, industrial grade. I cut it with bolt cutters. The smell hit me first. Not overwhelming, not like in the movies. Just wrong. Wet earth and something else, something sweet and rotting. I went down. There was a tarp. Large, folded over something. I didn't have the courage to open it fully. I peeled it back just enough to see white hair. A shriveled hand. Jewelry on brittle fingers. I ran. I went to the police. Of course I did. But here's the twist. By the time they got there, the crawlspace was empty. The tarp was gone. The earth looked disturbed, like someone had raked it over. They said there was no evidence of a body. No reason to assume foul play. They treated me like I was hysterical. No body, no crime. Jules vanished the next day. Her phone was disconnected. Socials wiped. The shell company that owned the house? Dissolved. Just like that. And me? I can't sleep. I don't know where she is. I don't know if she's still wearing my name, or someone else's. I don't know if she's out there collecting more lives. I think she killed Mary Ellen Kurtz. I think she buried her under that house. I think she moved her when she knew I was coming back. That was 6 months ago. Since then, strange things have happened. I started receiving mail addressed to Catherine L. Jensen, one of the names I recognized from the trunk. Then a debit card, preloaded, arrived under that name. A week later, I found a burner phone in my mailbox. Turned off. No messages. Just a wallpaper photo. Jules, smiling, standing in front of my old apartment. I called the police again. Showed them everything. They took notes, but I could tell they thought I was either unwell or lying. I started researching deeper. Jules didn't just take identities. She became them. I found traces of her in public records across at least 6 states, different names, slightly altered birth dates, same face. Same damn face in real estate documents, DMV records, even alumni databases. I became obsessed. I traced the shell company that owned her house to a P.O. box in New Mexico. Traveled there myself. It was empty. But a woman who worked at the UPS store said she remembered someone who looked like Jules picking up packages, using a different name. Then last week, a letter arrived. Handwritten. Postmarked from a small town in Utah. No return address. Inside was a card. No words. Just a Polaroid. Jules. Standing in the middle of a train station. Her back to the camera. A small duffel at her side. On the back, she'd written in her perfect looping script, "I was never yours to find." She left, dramatically. No violence. No destruction. Just vanished again. Like mist clearing from a mirror. But it was her final mistake. The train station in the photo? A Redditor recognized it after I posted the picture online. We traced it to a specific Amtrak line. I sent it to the private investigator, who cross-referenced passenger manifests. One name popped up again, Jessica Arliss, an identity I'd seen before in a Florida real estate transaction. We gave the info to the authorities. And for once, they listened. Jules, going by Jessica, was arrested 3 days later in a rented studio apartment outside Denver. She was calm. Smiling. Inside her apartment? More IDs. More names. Folders stacked in a vintage suitcase. But no weapons. No direct signs of violence. Just methodical identity dismantling. She's in custody now. The FBI is involved. There's talk of interstate fraud, elder exploitation, and even homicide investigations being reopened. And me? I can finally breathe. But I'll never forget her voice on the phone, that last time. "You still don't know who I really am." Maybe she was right, but I know enough now. And so do the police. Edit. She's been formally charged with federal identity theft and fraud across multiple states. Authorities are still connecting her to several missing person cases. 882, I'll be testifying soon. Wish me luck. 883, final. I got a letter from prison. One line. "You saw through one mask. There are so many more." She signed it, "Eternally yours, whoever I need to be."